Good morning, everybody, and good afternoon to everybody who's joining us from Australia. Welcome to the webinar. This is in collaboration with the Consulate General of Sri Lanka in Sydney, along with SLASSCOM and also ICTA. We have our first speaker, who is the consular from Sydney. So, Mr. Lakshman Hulugalla, please, we'd like you to start the session.
Thank you very much for the opportunity given to me to welcome you all by the two organizations who organized this important discussion. On behalf of the Consulate office in Sydney, I would like to thank all the officials who are participating in this webinar, and also the other participants from Sri Lanka and Australia on a very important discussion. Sri Lanka is, as when you take Sri Lanka is holding a special position in IT education and IT sector. So our position in the world is fairly recognized, and Sri Lanka holds a very recognition in the world IT. So even yes, we are, as a council, we are in the verge of establishing a business council. We had a meeting yesterday, also discuss about this IT sector in Sri Lanka. Although the COVID-19 has interrupted most of the work globally, we are doing the foundation work to get investors and investments into Sri Lanka, and there is possibility of getting investors for the IT sector. So I think this meeting is, or our discussion is at the right time, and I wish all of you all the best of luck. And from the consulate office, whatever possible assistance that we can give you, or for the Sri Lankans, and also for the Sri Lankans in Australia and Australians to go and invest in Sri Lanka, we'll do our best. So thank you very much for giving this opportunity for me to welcome you all. And I welcome this discussion, and I invite everybody to participate very healthy. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that lovely introduction. So then we have Councillor from Sydney, Mr. Abdul Rahim. Mr. Abdul, over to you.
Thank you very much. Good morning to all in Sri Lanka, and good afternoon to all in Australia. Thank you very much joining the Consulate General of Sri Lanka in Sydney, organizing this webinar. And I thank ICTA and SLASSCOM for giving us this opportunity to creating a platform to connect the Sri Lankan and the Australian IT sectors. Just to give a small background of the...
Yeah, I think everybody is
okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Right. What I'm saying is, so since we realize to summarize what I said was the Australian market IT sector is very important for Sri Lanka. And that's the reason we are also trying our level best to tap the market. And just to give what we have done in the past is we with the support of ICTA, SLASSCOM, Export Development Board, and Ministry of Foreign Affairs, we have done a couple of road shows, and we have taken part in the CBIT exhibition in Australia. That's one of the largest trade exhibition for the IT industry. And also we have arranged business networking to connect the Sri Lankan companies with the Australian counterparts. and also B2B meetings and arranging familiarization tour for the IT hub in Australia, how to our Sri Lankan companies to understand how much IT sector is developed in Australia. So but and another opportunity is how to connect with the Sri Lankan IT company with the Australian IT professional. So I think this global your program, the SLASSCOM Global Referral Program, that suits that's target. I think now we have given wider publicity among the Australian Sri Lankan IT professional who are in Australia for them to take part this webinar. I think that will benefit for both parties. Yeah, with that note, I would like to say once again, thank you very much for who arrange this one, as well as all the participants at this webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Abdul. So next speaker we have is Mr. Anuradi Alvis. So he is the Chief Digital Economy Officer at ICTA, the Information Communication and Technology Agency. Mr. Anura, over to you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Right, thank you so much. So I welcome all of you. Good afternoon to most of the people in Sydney and joining from Australia. We from ICTA, Information and Communication Technology Agency of Sri Lanka, welcome all of you. And my thanks and appreciation goes to Ashik, who's from SLASSCOM side representing being a vice chair here, organizing this global referral program. And to start the conversation, just to give a bit of background, I'm an Australian citizen, lived in Australia, moved to Sri Lanka in 2012, has been in the industry nearly 30 years now, and also SLASSCOM member until last week. So, so now into the national agenda, driving this coming from the industry to make sure that we achieve our digital economy goals and a digital nation goals. And we bring a lot of industry and people who live in abroad to support our country. Like I said, I joined well before the retirement, and believing this board, this time we have a right vision and the right members in the board representing the industry. And we have bodies like SLASSCOM representing the industry very well. And we believe it's the best time for Sri Lanka to prosper and build our digital economy. Can we move on, Nilan, for the next one? Nilan joins me from SLASSCOM, sorry, ICTA, one of the senior people who drive the industry goals. To introduce to ICT, I know I've got limited time, Ashik, so I'll try to do it fast as possible. I have basically just put in a slide where we have three more important pillars of Sri Lankan national digital vision, where digital government piece covers most of the foundational work and bringing government, e-government or digital government. And the middle pillar here, or the middle one here is my part, which is the digital economy, which I will talk a little later. There are 5 areas in that. And the third one is digital services, which means everything that we build for the government and the cloud services and the passive or platform as a service is supported by the digital services. And also the CTO, Chief Technology Officer, coming. So to let you know, out of the 5 ICTA today, 3 of them have been taken over by 3 people coming from industry, being myself, including myself, being more than 20 to 30 years in the industry. So just to say that that's the belief and that's the atmosphere, that's a kind of environment we want to create to be digitally successful. Just move on to the next one. I'll quickly explain what digital government means. So you can see the blue part, what we're building today from ICTA, whether we do it or we work with vendors, it doesn't matter. We build a wider range of government digital services and platforms, ranging from networks to cloud, to common data services spanning to the data exchange and analytics side. So that's a foundational layer. Then on top of that, we have the main platforms that we offer to the government services, including to the sectors of tour, transportation, education, health, etc. So using the foundation, we create the platform so that it can be used by the government entities. And then on top of that, we have the services plus the mobile services. A simplest example of these mobile services is Stay Safe, which is to track people, their places or locations they've been, and to look at how much of risk that is being created or being assessed for the COVID-19. So likewise, we have mobile services on top of the services layer on top. So this entire spectrum is coming under the government, which we will be covering right now from the municipals to the courts to the parliaments, the cabinet, everything, including the biggest initiative of this is the digital identity. As you know, is a huge project, and I would believe it will be the last 10 years to next 10 years, biggest project Sri Lanka would undertake. Because it digitizes, it brings every facet of the Sri Lankan citizen into a single identity mechanism. Move on to explain more on my scope, what is digital economy that is coming under me. So we have a goal of working with foreign missions as well as our Sri Lankans living abroad. And the SLASSCOM vision today is very much aligned to our thinking as a national goal, because SLASSCOM also introduced this global referral program that is your part of this in this conversation today, and it's very, very much aligned to the digital economy and national agenda. So I must accept that and thank Ashik once again. So under economy, there are 5 pillars. One is technology industry development and the startup nation, tech diffusion, capacity building, and regional cluster. So I will go quickly into each of these and explain what the targets are. Under the industry, if you look at the right-hand side of this triangle, this is a survey that was done by PwC and SLASSCOM together sometimes back, and we use the same statistics here. You can see right-hand side of the pyramid or the triangle, current state, we have about 65% of the economy or the revenue from the exports coming from the digital side services. What we wanted to change is to move more into the product building, knowing that our size, our economy size, our citizens, size of the population of the technology staff, etc. We want to shift this to 60% into the more product building, and that is where again SLASSCOM is very well working with us aligned, so that we want to create that. So as an industry, one of my first goals is how can we create next 4 years, working with all the associations, working privileged people like you who are in this call, to move from the service to a more product-based industry. Move on for the interest of time. If you look at 2020 to 2015, the period that we saw more outsourcing work in Sri Lanka, the next 5 years has been more product engineering, and now the era has come to think more onto startup, because we as a nation believe in our national agenda, the way to prosper Sri Lankan economy is building more small to medium scale businesses, and the starting point or the entry point basically startups. So we focus more on building that. As an industry today, national target of 1,000 startups. We have 3 billion revenue. Today we are just a little over 1 billion, and we are trying to go to 3 billion, threefold target by 2024. And thirdly, our workforce increased from 40,000 to 300,000. And that workforce encompasses not just the export, but also local as well as government, because we are building this capacity for government as well in terms of skills. So this is a national target for our industry in terms of high-level targets. Move on. I think this shows how the startups, for the interest of time, I'll go to the next one. So this shows how ICTA has been connected in multiple associations, platforms, forums, and in the industry network where we are working with over the years. Programs like Pivalation and different activities within ICTA to work and grow our startup ecosystem. And if you move to the next slide, you can see multiple sectors, startups been categorized in Sri Lanka, and a number of very successful companies. And to let you know the number, we passed officially 400 number in startups last week, and our target is 600. The reason is it's not a number, but the quality is important too. But why we set the 1,000 is because out of that 1,000, we know there will be companies that will be grown into a scale-up mode and to the enterprise. So we have a higher level target, but we know for our GDP, for our economy, for our export, there will be only a selected number of companies support. So we have a big target. That's basically the industry side, and the technology diffusion focuses mainly on how do we take this technology that we have today, not just for the software, but also for other industries. Example, how do we take for manufacturing? How do we take this for agri-tech, agriculture, etc.? And here, where we believe tourism, education, different sectors that can benefit from our technology. And in that we target about 750 companies to diffuse technology using different ways. It could be IoT type, it could be their main ERP, it could be anything, but we are trying to diffuse our technology, non-technology companies, so core business, not in IT-BPM. And take also open government, we plan to open a number of government research and tech development labs to support the industry. Agri-tech, biotech, nanotech, all of that. Move on. So capacity is one of the biggest things for us, because to do all of those targets, we have to make sure we have the workforce ready. Like I said, we have 300,000 workforce. We want to build that, and I'm just finishing a conversation with the BCS to see how they can work with us in accreditation and bringing memberships and looking at working with us on building our network. In our network, in the capacity, we have 300,000 workforce. It's about double the size of what we have today. That help the export local as well as the government. We have to do a lot of programs from schools to education sector. We also believe that will be really, really important for us to go to this target. And secondly, we also have to build CIOs, because Sri Lanka has not traditionally have the right CIOs to run this government. So one of my targets is to build, as a number, we are targeting 500 to support this. We have to over the years build that number to support the government entities, the right CIOs, and also the IT teams to support these entities. And one of the main items here that is relevant to this forum is attracting diaspora. Now, again, thanks to SLASSCOM for the third time having this global reference program, because this is where we approach you and two ways. One is to bring business and FDI. Number two is to bring the professionals who are working in other countries to support us in a part-time or full-time basis. I'm very happy to say last 2 weeks, there have been queries coming from some people for short to medium term to try to relocate to Sri Lanka once the pandemic settles or when flights open, to support and join some of the roles ICTA has, which is very positive. So our capacity goal is not only engineers, but also to build right level of IT skills and bring the diaspora and support these FDI goals. Move on. Regional cluster is the final thing that we work with, as you know, Ministry of Technology. The one best thing in Sri Lanka that ever has happened this time is we have a senior layer of the ICTA run by people joined from industry. Entire board represent government as well as the rest of the members on the board. All 6 other members are from industry in ICTA board, and chairman, including chairman. And we have the secretary of the Ministry of Technology represent the industry, Jayantha Silva. And we have a president, His Excellency, Mr. Rajapaksa, also being in the industry. So we have a great time in our nation, and we believe that with that, we can build our digital economy. Now, to add the last point, the Ministry of Technology right now working on Kurunegala, Kandy, Gold, Nuwara, and 1/5 one in a beachfront, building a technology parks, techno parks. The first park is now, work has been begun in Kandy, and we are inviting all the type of technologies come and work. And again, we open through our cluster, the nerve network under me for the economy is creating this cluster called hubs, or the regional development hubs, that will be working very much hand in hand with the Ministry of Technology, with the techno parks, to invite the startups, to invite the enterprises, to invite research and development companies, invite universities to come and work with us. And I've been working with the startup ecosystem for the last maybe 20 years, running large enterprises, etc., plus working with SLASSCOM, etc. So I believe personally this is a wonderful opportunity for all of us around the world to build and use Sri Lanka also as a test bed where necessary and a hub. I think with that, I'll stop and open for any questions or wait for Ashik's guideline on when I need to jump in to answer any question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Anura. So we will move on to our next speaker. We have Mr. Shehan Selvanayagam. So he is the head of Global Trade and Investment Forum at SLASSCOM, and he's also the managing director at Loops Integrated. Shehan, over to you to explain the SLASSCOM Global Referral Program.
Sure. I'll just share my screen.
Good.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Sure. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Shehan, so I'm also part of SLASSCOM. The referral program is actually done by the marketing forum with Dilanga, myself, and Mudita involved. I'll kind of explain to you what we're trying to do here. So the agenda we're going to cover is exactly what we're trying to do about the referral program, how it works, who can be a referrer, and case studies from Sri Lanka. Very simple. We work with quite a lot of brands across the world because Sri Lanka, with the whole I Love Ingenuity branding, is we realize that we work with a lot of different content across different platforms. Hold on, I'm just going to stop my video feed for a second. It's a bit unstable. So we realize that there is a lot of found companies which are started in Sri Lanka, which have a lot of global presence. A lot of the companies do a lot of work in the Australian market. We have a local presence in also multiple markets and access to investors. So we are trying to see what we can do right now is because a lot of these brands, especially a lot of the IT and BPO companies, are working with companies for the past 10, 20 years. But to be honest, in terms of going out there and getting business, we realize that there is a huge network of Sri Lankans living overseas, which can actually help them to grow. And yes, I know a lot of you all are working with companies in Sri Lanka in different capacities, but we thought whether we can try to do a model in terms of replicating the success and how the community overseas can help us grow, especially the community in Australia, which is quite large, and I met quite a few of you all over, is how we can help give increase for the brands, get introduction to potential clients, because all of you all over there have been in the country for many, many years, and you all have established yourself in many different capacities. And that's something you can do to help some of these companies in Sri Lanka. Again, a lot of this is not just, I mean, yes, you all will have an interest to help Sri Lankan companies, but also we're trying to bring also monetary benefit if someone wants to look at it also, and how we can help and grow. So these are giving you all based out of Australia access to a lot of the companies in Sri Lanka, as well as also opening up in both ways. So how it works is what we've done is from the entire SLASSCOM group, we have actually created a set of companies. We have already invited quite a few companies who are being part of the referral network. Right now, we have quite a few companies also, different areas, ranging from digital marketing, different sales. I'll take you there. These are companies which we have vetted, who are part of SLASSCOM, who also are good companies working with overseas brands, and also vetted. And these are not just smaller companies or just fly-by-night operations. We have realized that these are capable to cater to the market, especially Australia, and how you all can use them to also open doors for them, and also it can be vice versa. SLASSCOM as a body will facilitate the communication. So these are not where you deal with only one company, and we can actually connect you with multiple companies for different requirements. And also what we do is the company is a part of their program also bound by an MOU. So we ensure that people are rewarded, and we ensure that there's also transparency between all the parties. Referral programs has been done in the past previously, but very few referral programs has been done as a countrywide initiative. And this is something which we are doing right now to promote that whole initiative, because we realize that all of you over there can actually help a lot in terms of Sri Lanka. So the different verticals which are right now, so like I said, the referral program, this is our first attempt at it. So as we start growing, and probably next year we'll be evolving and adding more brands and different sections. But right now we have different companies ranging from software providers, solutions, software development companies, BPO companies, knowledge process companies, digital agencies, and also AI and machine learning services. So there are different types of companies in these sectors. So if you all are working with companies, or if you all have a friend or something like that who has a requirement in the sector, you can definitely speak to us, and we can find you companies who are part of SLASSCOM who match the requirement, and we can connect you guys together. So that's an objective which we're trying to look at. So how this works in terms of a process is that we probably all so we will kind of, if you become a register as a referrer with us, we will register you and we will give you access to all these companies. So what we'll do is every week also we'll share the different companies, what they do, different solutions, so you're aware about what they do. So from your point, you all can look and see whether there's potential for some of these things in your market. And then if you get a lead, you can send it to us. We will try to match that lead against a database of companies which we have. And we will send you probably the profiles that match it. Based on that, you can directly call to companies and you can sort out and see how you can match in terms of solution. So when a company works with either company which you refer, we can actually, how it will work is that they will look at sort of a pitch basis. You all can decide whether you all want to be the face of it, whether you just want to recommend. So it's like I said, it's just a referral option, what you're looking at. But like I said, we are looking at also where you can earn something by referring someone else, not only just by helping Sri Lankan companies as well. We will give you all content ranging from brochures, leaflets, all of those things. We will get you materials. We'll even help you with certain proposal decks if you have requirements, and we'll try and match companies even, which you can do. So right now we have just closed a couple of companies from Sri Lanka who joined the program from Sri Lanka. We are in the process of creating a resource center. So this referral program is actually is not for one particular country. We are signing up across the world, and we're leveraging on the Sri Lankan connections overseas. So we're going to create a resource center where you can download white papers, sector reports, all of that. So if you want to do help selling, that's something we can do. We'll be sharing newsletters, media content, all of them, which you can share with the network. So as our member companies create content, either case studies or something which they worked in the Australian market, they'll share it with you. So you can share it with your friends and see if they are interested also. Because there are some really interesting tech solutions coming out of Sri Lanka. So our referral program, what we look at is we realize that a lot of Sri Lankan expats in the IT and BPM sector who have a lot of connections in that sector, something that would make a lot of sense. It can be either for the company you're working for, it can be even for a totally different company, what we looked at. Also Sri Lankan expats who have a very good standing in your network and who can also do that. And also non-Sri Lankans who do quite a lot of work in Sri Lanka. I noticed quite a few here also in that, who have connections in Sri Lanka and also interest in promoting Sri Lanka. So how can you help? So one is we can spread the word about the program. You can easily register. It's a free registration. We don't charge anything for it. And like I said, SLASSCOM as a body, we are not charging a fee or earning anything out of it. This is a service we're doing for our country as well as for the SLASSCOM members. We will connect you. If you have a requirement, we'll connect you with any of the companies part of the referral program, and we'll try to match in terms of either, say, example, you got a brief for someone who's looking for something, or you feel that a certain potential company or person wants to develop something. Can you look at a company Sri Lankan provider service? We'll look at that. And this is a win-win for your company. So we are going to connect you with a proven company in Sri Lanka and help you all try to work together. And our objective is to help promote Sri Lankan IT and BPO companies. So this is the best of times, the worst of times. And essentially, the benefit for referrers is that, like I said earlier, is that you can earn a finder's fee, a commission on whatever you look at. You can actually be invited also. Like I said, it depends on the scope. It's completely up to the member company. You can be as advisors. Sometimes what we have seen in certain other studies also is that some of these people join in as just referrers and they come on board on a more full-time capacity as advisors, directors in multiple markets. You have a very, very strong connection with Sri Lankan entrepreneurs, which you can leverage back. So that's something which you're leveraging on. These are just some of the case studies of a few companies who have done this fairly successfully. So Kelsey has also done referral marketing in a few other markets where they've actually secured clients in UK through sales partners. This has moved on. So like I said, the referral market is not just introducing and you just moving away. Sometimes this is also helping build in the relationship. So Kelsey has actually started from partner relationship and they have moved on to multiple partners, especially in Scandinavia. They have started with a partner. They're working with probably multiple brands in that sector. And 70% of the revenues actually got through partners introductions. Boardpack, another company, has also officers and they are quite a big company. They work with officers in multiple markets. They have entered South Africa and Malaysia, partnered with telcos. They're partnered with different companies in the US. And that actually has also worked as a referral based thing. And they have actually got connected and the connection has blossomed just past one project. My company as well, Loops, is a digital agency. So we work in Australia and Qatar and all of that. And that also has been a lot of it through OBAs, meetings, all of that, where we have met people. And those people have worked very well and which have won us about 10 or 15 plus projects through referral-based business. That's in a nutshell what we can do. So what we will do is we will share a link or you can register with a referrer. If there's any question, we can answer it also. You can obviously just message us, we can answer it. And like I said, this is no cost, no obligation, but like I said, we will give you different of all the companies and you can see exactly how we can connect you with that. Thank you.
Thank you,
I think,
Shrehan.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, Dilak, you can continue.
Yeah, go ahead.
You can continue, sorry.
So we have next Mr. Ashik Ali. He's the Vice Chairperson of SLASSCOM, and he's also the Director at Taliance. Ashik, over to you.
Thank you, Dilanga. Shall I wait till this poll is completed? I think a few people are taking this on. I can see some updates going on. I'll just give it a minute.
Yes. And like I said, if any of you all want to ask any questions, you can message us. We'll share a link of how you can get more details about the referral program. Plus also you can message us on here or anywhere else. We're always willing to help you to get more details about it. And we can give you details of all the companies that register part of the program.
Maybe we can end the poll, Dilanga.
Yes. All good.
Yeah, wonderful. I hope others can see the poll screen. I think there is significant interest from what has been presented so far. And we will definitely engage with all of you in furthering this program. And let me now continue with this presentation. As introduced, I am the Vice Chair of SLASSCOM, and I will give a presentation on how the industry is faring, where the focus areas are, as a more broader picture than the specific global referral program. Close this. Let me share the screen. A moment. Yeah, all good with the screen and the sound?
Yes, yes, can hear you.
Thank you. So when we did a study about 4 or 5 years ago with a global analyst firm called A.T. Kearney, they publish location indexes around the world. One of the key phrases that came out of them was Sri Lanka is a hidden gem. And it was not only them, but thereafter when we speak to some of the large captives, take it as LSEG or HSBC or Cisco, or more recently HCL from India. All of them used the same word. Maybe they saw the report, maybe they didn't, but they definitely used in our one-on-one interactions and interviews. They definitely used the word hidden gem. Why? Because unlike many of the supply side countries, Sri Lanka has not created enough awareness about this industry. We are traditionally known for our tourism, tea, travel, garments. IT and BPM has not been a significant industry that has been promoted from Sri Lanka. But the industry, the government, and specifically the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Department of Commerce, the line agencies like ICTA, EDB, the BOI, they are making a very concerted effort in the last 2-3 years to showcase the industry in the global forums. And this is one of such webinars. Moving on, just to give a snapshot of where the industry is today, we can say we are about 500 plus companies that operate in the industry. Last year, we estimate the industry to have clocked about 1.5 billion in exports. This is excluding the local component, it's just exports. And we employ close to about 115,000 people in the industry. Again, only for exports. Anura mentioned a higher figure that includes the local industry and the government employing as well in the sector. In spite of the lack of awareness that I spoke of, we are the 4th largest exporter, contributing 10% of the export revenue to Sri Lanka. So we make a significant impact in the national economy. Our goals by 2025 is to increase that revenue to $5 billion with a 200,000 highly skilled professional work base, and also support 1,000 startups. This is in line with what ICTA does as well. This is very key to bringing in new companies and sustaining the growth. What this industry means to the country, it establishes a positive image as a creator of IP and innovation. It generates exponential growth, mainly because its value addition is from the human capital that Sri Lanka has. So in our estimate, we value at almost about 85% of that export revenue. We have very little import in terms of what you call equipment or licenses that go in as input into our value addition. We attract substantial FDIs. One of our key strategies is to bring in global MNCs and major tech firms, and we've been reasonably successful in that. By 2025, we hope to create an additional 85,000 direct jobs. And in the region, each job that this industry creates, it impacts 2.5 indirect jobs in other sectors. The jobs are highly paying and creates greater disposable income. It also is a very inclusive sector, contrary to popular belief. Almost 60 to 70% of our workforce actually come from outside of Colombo, from distant provinces. True that they come to Colombo because most of the companies are located here, but the workforce itself comes from outside the region. And as Anura mentioned, and SLASSCOM and ICTA and EDB has been working for the last several years. We have a regional outreach campaign to reach out to all other agencies, or all other provinces. We've been working very successfully with the northern province, in Jaffna, in Vavuniya, and recently in Mana. We work in Batticaloa in the eastern province, in Badulla, in Uva, in Golan, Matara in southern, and Kandy in the central province. We have outreach campaigns with all the universities there, with the entrepreneurial network there, and slowly but steadily we are seeding the companies in those regions to mature and be export ready. We also have equal gender participation in this, almost in 50-50 percentage of female participation, not only in the workforce, but also in the entrepreneurial side. We have many female-led startups and businesses that are prospering. One of the companies that Shehan put in the slide board pack is led by a very leading female entrepreneur. All this has a very direct positive impact on our national GDP. From an outside in point of view, the global business landscape, the demand landscape is moving away from cost. Businesses are looking to future-proof their businesses. And this is mainly fueled by a lot of technology adoption, especially in the emerging technology areas like artificial intelligence, machine learning, IoT, blockchain, cybersecurity. These are some of the areas we are very focusing on, and we are building accelerators and centers of excellence. It's also growing with the pandemic, I'm sure in Australia, in many other regions, and in Sri Lanka. We've seen a much higher technology adoption, and this is creating more demand for our industry. In addition to that, there is also de-risking, because in various countries, the pandemic has had different effects, different lockdowns, and businesses want to have a de-risk strategy where they are operational even during these lockdowns. And each country grapple with this pandemic in different ways. So in recent past, we've seen many of the captives scaling up in Sri Lanka to mitigate this risk. We've had a number of inquiries from even supply countries like Malaysia, Philippines, Brazil, where they are looking at a footprint in Sri Lanka so that they continue to serve their global clients, even if their territories are affected and are not able to service. So I'll play a short video of our industry and then continue the presentation. essentially, as I told you before, the awareness has been lacking of the industry, and 3 years ago, we launched the Island of Ingenuity brand. We've created a portal. We have created stories of ingenuity, which is showcasing a number of case studies about the countries, companies that are delivering world-class solutions and services. We have a document on FDI, how Sri Lanka is able to position itself as a favorable destination. And we have so far with limited resources, promoted this on digital and non-digital channels. But we are now having plans to ramp this up. So what the brand espouses are 3 approaches what Sri Lanka can offer. Number 1 is captive innovation centers. This is where leading MNCs and IT firms come to Sri Lanka to set up their captive innovation centers or digital innovation labs. This is not just cost arbitrage, but actually come for the talent here. The second part is digital gateway to Asia. This is to leverage our geographical location to the South Asian region. Our access to those markets, which are very fast growing in India, in Bangladesh, in Pakistan. So we invite companies and startups, global startups, to set up in Sri Lanka, use it as a test bed and also as a beachhead to enter this region. The last is the digital disruptors and IP creators. This is where Sri Lankan companies which are creating transformative IPs, products and platforms, how do we take them out to the world and finding markets? So the GRP is one such program where to create market access for Sri Lankan exporters. Why Sri Lanka? We have bulk of the value proposition is on our talent pool, which is very robust, competent and niche. It's recognized globally for strong collaboration and co-creation skills. We have region's highest literacy rates. And our infrastructure is pretty much in par with some of the leading destinations. We've got very advanced technology in terms of telco, in terms of office infrastructure, and in terms of network. And we have a very strong track record for the last 30 plus years delivering global solutions. In terms of some of the global indicators, analysts, etc., we've fared reasonably well with the exposure that we have. We've been in the UK market. We won the Destination of the Year in 2013, 2014, 2019, in Etikani, in Tolons, in Gartner, in World Economic Forum indexes, in WIPO indexes. We reasonably fare well in the region. And we have strategies in place, and we work with these analyst firms to improve these indicators on a continuous basis. As the video showed, these are some of the global brands that are located or are sourcing from Sri Lanka. Just a brief background on SLASSCOM. So we are an industry chamber for the knowledge and innovation industry. Out of that 500 plus companies that I spoke of, nearly 200 are members. We represent almost 85% of the revenue that is generated for exports. We are very much modeled after the NASSCOM in India. We have 10 forums which are focusing on different focus areas. And together with the government, we share the same vision of creating that $5 billion revenue, 200,000 workforce and 1,000 startups by 2025. We recently launched accelerators in product and platforms, in AI, in cybersecurity and intelligent process automation, with the aim of positioning them as centers of excellence in the region. These are some of the key pillars of success. We are involved in the demand generation, both in FDI and exports. We work with the university and academia and ministries and line agencies in capacity building, making sure that our talent is future ready. We invest in the emerging tech accelerators, and as Anura presented, we also work with other sectors in the tech diffusion, be it agriculture, be it health, be it finance. We work in programs where these emerging tech is adopted by those other sectors as well. We have a strong focus on IP-led products and platforms. We are trying to improve the IP regime in Sri Lanka in terms of IP registration. We look at tax incentives for companies to do research and development. We are working with university incubators in making sure that they play a part in generating IP and commercialization. And lastly, but not least, the entrepreneurship and startup ecosystem, where we and the government have a shared vision in creating that 1,000 startups. As I said, we work very closely with government. We don't work in isolation, whether it be EDB, the BOI, the ICTA, the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Education, and Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and the Department of Commerce. With that, I'll end my presentation and we can go into Q&A. Over to you, Dilanga.
Thank you, Ashik. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to drop on the chat box so we can direct it towards the relevant speakers.
I was going through the chat sessions. So a number of companies have expressed interest in signing up, and we have a link for that, which has been shared there, and we will also share it through the embassy to everyone who's registered here. There is also another question on how many companies have signed up, maybe from Sri Lanka. We have now about 35 plus, Dilanga, in various of those product and service elements that Shehan presented.
Yes.
We will share those profiles once a referrer comes on board. We then share those profiles of those Sri Lankan companies who are signed up for the referral programs, so that the referrers can see which of those companies are of interest to them, and they can then engage with them in going to the next step of referring them to their potential leads and customers, or partnering with them in any other way.
Shehan, would
So
you
there
like
was
to take this one?
there was a question. Yeah, so there was a question regarding taxation. So how it works is in terms of the referrer paying you. So that is up to you and the referrer to discuss the terms before a project. Generally, you're looking at about 10%, but like I said, you would be taxed on that income as you would normally taxed in terms of if they were to pay you in Australia. But like I said, that is a discussion you all can discuss with the relevant referrer in terms of how you want to get the money to minimize the taxation in terms of that. So that's a discussion you can have with the relevant referrer. But again, that is up to you all itself.
Yeah, just to add to that, it all depends on where the invoicing and where the referral fee is being paid. If it is paid in Sri Lanka, Sri Lanka has double taxation agreements with many of the countries. I think Australia is also one of them. So the Inland Revenue here will issue you a withholding tax where you paid, I think, 10% or 15%, which then can be set off against your Australian tax liability.
Actually, Ashik, I might be able to add a bit there as well. So typically for invoices from like sales partners that carry the description sales commission, there is no deductions or taxation applied on this end, on the Sri Lankan end. The full payment goes out. If it says consultation, for example, on the invoice, there is a deduction applied by the authorities before the payment goes out from this end. So you always have the option of getting the full payment into your own country, and then factoring that into your income and dealing with the income tax regulations from there on.
Rizvi, if you may, I hope we have answered that question. Maybe you could unmute and ask us more if it's not clear.
No, I think the answer is clear. I don't think the tax arrangement is an individual case by case, but the taxation is tax is a policy the government enforces. But what I would like to see is some reference to what you mentioned last about the sales commissions are not taxed. My experience has been there has been 40% withholding for overseas payments in my past experience. So just want to make sure those barriers are being removed.
Yeah, that I can confirm from experience, Rizvi. We do this on a monthly basis, so the payments go out fine as long as it carries the description that I mentioned.
My past experience has been one of the challenges of establishing referrals and getting commercial benefits going between a client and a partner. There's a lot of challenges around the legal framework, not just the intellectual property, but also data protection. What has been put in place to simplify doing business with Sri Lanka?
Okay, so probably I can answer that partly. One is these companies whom we have as part of the referral program are not startups, not flymen. These are vetted by SLASSCOM, and we have selected them through a process. And we have an MOU with each one of them to ensure that they cover in terms of their responsibility, in terms of how they work with referrers and all these other parties concerned. And these are, again, like I said, these are more established companies which are looking for the issues what you face generally when you look at smaller companies who have no clearly defined area. That's where we do. But all these companies which we feature are companies which have proven work in Australian market. So we are very, very particular in terms of that. However, like I said, if you have a requirement, look at startups also, that's an option we can look at. But these are companies which vetted. And like I said, if there's an infringement or anything like that, we will also step in and we will make sure that either we look into it as that. But like I said, we have an MOU with both with the referrers and with the companies combined also, which we would sign.
Shahan, I have a question that I can take up if you want.
Yes, that question.
Yeah. So that question relates to I think coming from one of the I can't remember the name of the person, but I saw the question. It's coming from I think Rafi Mubarak. So the question is about startup ecosystem and how we work. And just to give you a bit of SLASSCOM, I don't have to talk about SLASSCOM. I think SLASSCOM has its accelerator called Startup Accelerator that they have already. But in terms of ICTA, we right now have started a number of programs and we are launching a few more. Of course, collaboration with SLASSCOM and collaboration with other associations to get their support also to grow the mentoring part of that. So that is a mentoring part. If the question was related to mentoring and grooming and coaching, yes, we have programs and we are also working extensively planning to work this year with SLASSCOM, particularly knowing that there is a program they have on Accelerator. Secondly, about the funding and the taxation, etc. So ICTA has a goal for a startup goal that we have to bring not only FDI, also the seed funding and working on funding mechanisms both from local and international to get these startups, 1,000 startups, because we know we can't just talk a number without giving the right ecosystem support. So mentoring, coaching, funding, media, the support on the pitching them, as well as having them all the facilitations in terms of where they want to locate and have their company present on a technology park, etc. So all of that is plan of our goal. And if anyone, Rafi, your question interested, please connect up with Sachi Ratna or Nevindri. We can share, Milan, you can share on the session their email addresses, please, so that we can straight away connect and look at how we can help funding or getting them the right legal. And also just to let you know, as the ICTA, one of the agenda items for me this year, I'm also driving some of the changes in the taxations, etc., and the laws, etc., which I can't promise anything right now, but I can tell you that PwC has done an impediment survey for us, and SLASSCOM was part of that. In fact, I was also participation from SLASSCOM side at that time. So those impediments are being taken care of, and we are now writing a complete action item, not a report, action item, which means that as the board and myself, we don't believe in just putting a report to a person, but we are putting action items by each ministry and the department, what they must do by this date, and get the approval ASAP, and if they need to go to cabinet, we will proceed that way. So these changes are again not a report, but action items. That to remove all impediments for those startups to grow in Sri Lanka. If there are impediments in terms of tax, in terms of share, in terms of legalities, in terms of registering the company, in terms of funding, those things we are trying to find a way to lift some of the things and make it more flexible. So I hope that I answered that question in 360 degrees. If not, please ask.
Just to add to what Anura said is the ecosystem has matured quite a bit in the recent past. For funding, we have what we call Lankan Angel Network, which is a grouping of angel networks, network of Sri Lankan high-value individuals as well as from outside the country. So there are startup funds that they run, mostly on the seed money side and Series A. And on the ecosystem side, there are a number of operators as well. One of the more bigger partner is Hatch. They have a very modern co-working space in Fort, just very close to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and HSBC headquarters. And they have close to about 600 seats there. And it's just not co-working space, but they have a complete support system around it in terms of mentorship, in terms of even labs. For instance, they have a makerspace lab, etc., for companies which are in the IoT space or in the wearable tech space to actually prototype 3D printing, etc. So a lot of those things are now in place, and we see traction by startups taking advantage of these facilities. In terms of exits, PickMe is a startup which is now even thinking of listing in the Colombo Stock Exchange. Recently, we had one called Ensinga, which exited with an Indian fund. Before that, we had a group of companies which exited with, I think, an Australian-based company called Tavistock. There are these things happening in regular, but as government and as industry, we are now trying to accelerate this. And as I said, one of the positioning statement for Island of Ingenuity is to position Sri Lanka, the geographic position of Sri Lanka, as a country where we attract startups, enough startups here to look at the South Asian region at large.
So on that note, I guess we can wrap up Are there any more questions? Anybody? We shall wrap up, no? Shehan?
Yes, Dilanga, I think
That's fine.
in the absence of questions, we can wrap up now.
Okay. So thank you everybody for joining in. Thank you very much to the Consular General of Sri Lanka in Sydney, Mr. Abdul, and also Mr. Ulugalla, sorry. And also thank you to Information Communication Technology Authority, ICTA, and Mr. Andredi Alvis, and also Milan for collaborating with us on this project. So we hope that all of you all will sign up as referrals. And please do keep in touch. Thank you very much again. Have a nice day.
Thank you, everyone, for your time. And we hope to engage with you both on the referral program and even on the startup space where the questions came in. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Thank you very much.